The polls are now open.
Good morning. Welcome to Williamstown Town Meeting Day 2026 edition. I see we have a few people just kind of straggling in. Just a reminder, if you want to vote during the town meeting, you will need to come up and get your tag, green tag, that will allow you to vote during the meeting. Particularly important if we have a paper ballot.
I've got a few administrative notes before I.
That one's good.
Is Orville with me? Is Orville coming? As far as I know, she already him up front. If I had to look at for him, I saw you and I didn't know if you walked in together. I didn't notice his truck.
Hi, okay, how are you? Yeah. Do I just put this on? Yeah. You were inside. I can do yours.
I think you can. It always is. No. But you can just. Okay.
If you would all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I could have school board members come up to the table in preparation for the first part of the town meeting, please.
No pressure. He doesn't usually come up for this.
Okay, before we start the meetings for today, I'd like to make a few administrative notes. First of all, we are all neighbors. Let's treat each other as such. We can have different opinions and agree to disagree. Second, if you wish to make a motion and are able, please stand so that our town clerk can see clearly who is making that motion or seconding the motion.
It's a delay.
Third, the normal time limit by Robert's rules to speak is 10 minutes. If there is no objection, I would like to reduce that to 3 minutes.
Is that person?
I'm seeing or hearing no objections. Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it should be a peace spot. Some people may have one more to say. I think that would be more reasonable.
Okay, the request has been made to make it 5 minutes. This is not an article that we're gonna vote on, I just wanna do it if there are no objections. So if there are no objections to the 5-minute time limit. Okay, I am not seeing or hearing any objections, so we will limit the speaking to 5 minutes. And each person may speak twice. They will speak the first time, then they will have to go to the end of the line if they wish to speak again. Okay, I am now going to invite the school board secretary.
A superintendent. Oh, well, do you want me to read the warning? Yes. Okay.
To read the warning for the school.
Good morning.
Get closer.
Good morning. The legal voters of the town of Williamstown, Vermont are hereby notified and warned to meet at the Williamstown Middle High School on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026, between the hours of 10 o'clock in the morning and 7 o'clock in the evening, to vote by Australian ballot upon the following articles. Article 1, to elect the following officers of the Payne Mountain School District for the ensuing 2026-2027 year. 2 Williamstown school directors each for a 3-year term. Article 2, shall the voters of the Payne Mountain School District authorize the Board of Directors of the Payne Mountain School District to borrow money on the notes of the school district in anticipation of taxes. Article 3, shall the voters of the Payne Mountain School District approve the school board to expend $27,342,863, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year. The Payne Mountain School District estimates the proposed budget, if approved, will result in per pupil education spending of $15,074, which is 10% higher than per pupil education spending for the current year. Article 4, shall the voters of the Payne Mountain School District approve the school board to expend an additional $50,000 to provide weekend food assistance to students who are experiencing food insecurity to ensure that they have enough to eat when school meals aren't available. The addition of $50,000 into the budget will increase per pupil spending by $29, which is 0.002% higher than the proposed budget, Article 3. Signed by the Payne Mountain School Directors, dated on the 21st day of January 2026, received for record on January 22nd by Reverend Graham, Town Clerk.
I have to apologize, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Heather King and I am the town moderator for this town meeting. If there are no objections, School Superintendent Matt Fetters is here, and I will allow him to speak if anything is directed towards him, if he is called to do so. As I said, if there are no objections. I see no objections. The school articles are being voted on by Australian ballot, so there will not be any discussion on these articles. This time period is merely for asking questions directed at your school board member or at the superintendent. Do we have anyone who wishes to ask questions?
My name is Stephen Hardacre, and I want to know with the student enrollment down and the test scores down, from what I can see, and all the problems we had in the school off and on, why they can justify an increase of this much on the taxpayers. I think somebody needs to sharpen the pencil. Thank you. Any comment? Any answer?
There's a microphone there. Can you just turn that on?
Thank you. I would disagree that school test scores are down, and we are performing slightly below the state average, but our growth over years has continued to improve. Our staffing has remained the same this year, although our enrollment is slightly declined. We are looking at making sure that our class sizes are meeting the appropriate minimum standards for the new state requirements that were put in place for this coming year. I don't know, did that answer your question?
Not really, I don't see how you justify it with the student enrollment down and performing below state averages. I just don't understand that. I don't see how you can justify that.
What a great question, and I'm so happy that you asked it. We justified the increase in expenditures the same way you justify the increase in expenditures in your own homes. We have increases in healthcare costs being provided to our staff. We have increases in salaries for staff, just like anyone would expect increases annually or biannually. Those are negotiated contracts. We also have increases in the cost of maintenance for these buildings. We have increases in the costs for our bus services. We have increases in the cost for oil to heat the schools, and so all of those costs are maintained or go up annually regardless of student enrollment.
You don't need more staff if you have less students.
Oh yeah, as we said, we level funded. We did not increase our staffing this year. We maintained the same staffing, and in order to keep our ratios consistent with state requirements, we have to maintain that staffing level until our student levels drop to a certain point. So we are not at a point where we're looking at a reduction in staff because our student population decrease has not hit that threshold. And we are really excited to hear that we're looking at getting some new housing in this town in the next few years that will increase our student enrollment. So it seems like maintaining our current level of expenditures is really where we want to be.
We haven't got the increase in student enrollment yet, and the test scores are down, so I don't see where you need raises for the staff.
I don't see where it's confusing that our test scores aren't down. Our test scores are improving over the past few years, as the superintendent said. Yeah, that is fair. Thank you for your input.
I can see that this isn't going anywhere, but
The budget was already written.
Thank you.
I just have a question for you, Matt. Is this increase?
Excuse me, direct the questions to the town operator.
Alright, sorry. I just have a question for the superintendent through you. My name is Mike McCaskill. We're looking at a pretty big increase here. Does that come with competent staff who will handle stuff within the law? Or is that going to continue with you not following laws when people are sexually assaulted in this building?
The school district does everything that it can to maintain the safety of our students. If there's any individual concerns, I'd like to hear about those. But yes, we have highly competent staff and follow the rules and regulations of the state.
So you're saying that putting the same person who sexually assaulted my daughter in this school in the same class as her is protecting her?
We need, this is a violation of FERPA. We cannot have this conversation.
Okay, do we have anyone else who has any questions for the school board?
I have a question on the student waiting.
Your name, please?
My name's Craig Salee. So I have a question on the student waiting policy. So our school district has approximately 1,000 students per year budget, correct?
Correct.
yet as taxpayers, we are being taxed on 1,700 students in this district. How do we justify we're paying taxes on an additional 700 phantom students that do not exist in this district?
Let me be clear, nobody is being taxed on phantom students. The state has what's called a long-term weighted average daily membership, and they weight every student based on their need. So although we have just over 1,000 students in our district, the state gives additional funding to families or individual students who are economically disadvantaged. So a general student that doesn't qualify for any poverty subsidies is weighted as one student. A student that the state says is economically disadvantaged because they're living below the poverty line, we get an additional weight for that student. The state also says that it costs more to educate middle school students, so we get an additional weight for middle school students. And it costs even more to educate high school students, so we get an additional weight. Now, when the state issues their homestead property yield, they pay us the homestead property yield for every one of our students. So rather than them giving us money for the 1,000 actual students that we have, based on all those additional weights, they actually give us homestead property yield for all 1,700 of the weighting students. So the school district and the community is not paying more for these weighted students. You're actually getting more revenue from the state because of these weighted students. Thank you.
Follow-up question. So those additional 700.
Would you approach the
Additional 700 weighted students, are they part of the $15,000 per student being educated by this district?
So that's where it gets really confusing, because the state uses long-term weighted average daily membership, these weighted students, to determine everything from per pupil spending, which shows up on your ballot. So you're actually absolutely correct that when we say that it costs approximately $15,000 per student, it's based on that per pupil figure that the state tells us to use. If we were to calculate that based on the 1,000 students that we have, you're correct, that per pupil spending would probably be around $25,000 to $30,000. The reason that we don't use that number is because it's in state statute that we have to list the article and warning as presented here. So I feel like it would be highly confusing to list one per pupil spending in our budget book, and then to actually have our ballot list a separate per pupil spending. It's not something that we're trying to mislead the public. This is something that every school district does. They report based on the number of weighted students that they have.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions for the school board? If not, I will entertain a motion to recess. One moment, we do have one person.
So I have this flyer that the school
Your
board
name,
sent
please.
out. My name's Orville LaSalle. I've got this flyer the school board sent out, and I got it on the 23rd of February. And it tells me that there was a budget forum I could have attended on the 18th of February had I known about it. But it was 5 days before I found out. If you can't even get these to us in time, why should I think you can do anything else?
I think that's a really fair question. We did have the printing company here in town closed the month of this past month. They did not notify us of that until we actually sent the paperwork in. Once we sent it to the new printer, they notified us that they ordered the wrong paper. Now, because of that, we did schedule an additional budget forum last week. And although we couldn't put that in the flyer because it was already in your mailbox, we did advertise that on Facebook as well as our local front porch forum. And so we did our best to get word out to the community, and we did have an additional budget forum on Thursday night.
I would think that once you found that out, you could have sent out another letter to people. I don't think you did everything you could to make sure people knew. And I just think it's all just trying to get more money without explaining yourselves, and I just don't see that any reason to justify more money. You can't even notify the people when your meetings are properly. I have absolutely no faith.
I have a question for him. How would he like get notified? SOS? Smoke signals? Maybe an old tin can with string?
My name is Jamie Lear, and this is more of a comment than a question. Like Mr. LaSalle, Orville LaSalle said, not everybody's got Facebook, not everybody's got access to the internet. This is still a rural community of Vermont. Things are done old-fashioned way for a reason in this town, because we like it now. And if you can't reach out to your constituents that take and vote and budget on these budgets, how are we supposed to take and trust you to manage these money and stuff so well? And how are you guys going to take and justify this kind of money when you can't even when you do notice something and realize that there's a problem, and don't fix it accordingly to where the majority of your constituents don't have Facebook, you don't have access to social medias? Are you going to take and gain their trust to want to spend this kind of money on a school system that bamboozled a merger with Northfield to begin with? Because everybody in those meetings that I spoke with said that those buildings weren't up to code at the time of the merger. They were supposed to liquidate, join their teachers with ours, and do away with Northfield's high school and middle school and elementary school. That never happened. Our taxes in Williamstown went up to help pay for that on buildings to be brought up to code. And now you're taking and saying our taxes are going to go up again.
You were on that committee.
Over things that, in my opinion, should not be hooked to Northfield school system. Thank you.
Horace was on that committee.
We can't go back and fix the past, and I understand that there may be some concerns. I've talked with many people that were on the merger committee, and there was never a commitment to close any schools. There was definitely a discussion to look at the school configuration, and we've continued that discussion. I wouldn't ask everyone to raise their hand, but I imagine most of you have a cell phone, and I imagine many of you use email and connect to Front Porch Forum. As I said, the printing company was delayed, and so for us to do some sort of mailing was not within our means, and we did not have the ability to do that quickly. And so we used the resource that Vermont has given us, Front Porch Forum. I know I mentioned Facebook, and I totally agree that a lot of people do not use Facebook or other social media, but I do have a good feeling that a lot of us use Front Porch Forum and do communicate by email.
Can I add one more meeting, sir?
I'd also like to add that this budget was established over 6 months, beginning when the school year started, and we meet as a school board every other Wednesday. We meet with half of our meetings in Northfield and half of our meetings in Williamstown. We alternate between the elementary schools and the high schools, and that is a consistent, predictable schedule. If you have concerns about your schools, mark your calendars for what is it, the first and third or the second and fourth? First and third Wednesday of the month. For the entire school year, you can be committed from 6 to 8, just like I have been for the past 3 years. You can show up to the meetings from 6 to 8 p.m. Sometimes we go till 9 or 10, so bring coffee, and you can join those. Those are, put it in your calendar right now, write it down. That's how you participate in this process. That is how you become an educated member of the community on your school budget. That is how you get involved and your voice gets heard.
Sid Sweet Jr. Going back to his questions, so if you If we do, you said it would be an extra 15,000 roughly per pupil if we went by the strictly 1,000 that exists in our school system. Okay, that's $15 million if you add it, and multiply it by the 1,000. Does the state give us $15 million? How much do we get from the state to offset that cost?
So for every one of our weighted pupils, the state gives us a homestead property yield of $8,849.
So that's times 700.
That's times 1,700, the full number of weights.
They're weighted 700, or all 1,000, are all 1,700 weighted, or the 700 difference is weighted?
No, we have about 1,000 students.
Yep.
You add all the weighting, and the state actually says that's the equivalent of 1,700 students. So they then give us the homestead property yield for all 1,700 of those students. Although we have about 1,000 physical students in our buildings, they are giving us funding for approximately 1,700 students.
So roughly in my head, I think we're still paying out more than we're bringing in from the state. 8,000 times 1,700 does not equal 15,000 times 1,000, I don't believe.
I don't think there is, I mean, when you look at the state average for per pupil spending, it is around $16,000. We in Williamstown and in Payne Mountain, we are below the per pupil spending for school districts. So we do not offer a relative comparative education funding-wise to the students across our state. We are below that level. And so there, I would be certain to guess that the lowest school district in the state, their per pupil spending is higher than $11,000. So there's not a state, or there's not a school district in this state that is able to just take the money that the state receives and provide the education to their students. The state does not pay for the full cost of education.
Correct, but if we have that many people below the line, the income line, then that means you're putting most of the pressure on the rest of us. And the state is not offsetting that cost enough to make it feasible. The scale is getting broken. And I don't know that we need the state to do this. That's how I'm looking at it. Like, if this is bad math, why don't we become Williamstown Academy? Have we looked at anything other than just going along with what Montclair says?
We are a public school district, and so we are in line with all of the requirements of a public school district. Nobody has ever petitioned for us to become a private academy, and I think that would do probably a disservice to our families in this community not to have access to a public education and all of the resources that a public education can provide.
This is his third time.
Comments on that?
This is his third
You had
speaker.
said that the elementary school.
Sir, excuse me, could you speak up or be closer to the microphone?
This is his third time speaking.
And this is your third time speaking. We do have a 2-time limit.
Oh, I thought this was a different issue.
No, it's still the school budget.
This is not on a particular article. This is about the school budget that is being voted on by Australian ballot.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I want to know how come the elementary school students cost more to educate and the high school students cost more to educate? Who costs regular? Where's the average? You know, you sat right there and said that the elementary school students cost more and the high school students cost more. So who doesn't cost more?
Okay, he's gonna answer this one.
No, my previous statement was that middle school students cost more than high school students. So the elementary student would be your standard one student gets one weight.
Okay. I
Can you
just see a lot
explain
of
why?
contradicting and, not stuff that doesn't make sense. There's no way in the world I can support anywhere near this budget.
I respect your decision.
Can we explain why they cost more?
Look at the gymnasium.
Well,
We don't
it's
have this at every school.
More teachers, like, you need more teachers.
Okay, if there are no further questions for the school board, I would entertain a motion to recess.
And Ben Moffitt seconded.
Okay, then we are going to recess for 10 minutes to allow the school board to step away from the table and ask the select board to come to the table.
Yep, it started at 10:30. Okay. Yeah, give me one of those two. Okay, yeah, I would say I will, once we get, okay.
objections, our representatives, Topper McFawn and Gina Galfetti, representing Washington Orange, are here to speak to us. If allowed to do so, if there are no objections. Seeing none? Good morning. Hold on. Yeah, sorry. Good morning, I'm Gina Galfetti, and I'm part of the delegation of Topper and I that represents Washington Orange, which is just got a small piece of Williamstown. Is that better? Alright. It's great to see everybody here today. This is my third town meeting in attendance here in Williamstown, and there's a lot more folks here. I can tell you that right now. And I've got a pretty good idea. It's because we are in the midst of a very bad affordability crisis in this state, and people have a lot of concerns about their taxes going up and what we're gonna do in Montpelier to fix education funding. I can tell you that your rep, that Josh Dobrovich, is on the education committee, and he is fighting hard to make reasonable changes within the Act 73 guidelines. The House and the Senate versions of what we're gonna do going forward are very far apart at this point in time. We've only got a limited amount of time before crossover, and making any kinds of predictions at this point as to what education reform is going to look like would be impossible because the House and the Senate are so far apart. But the governor's made it very clear that he will not be signing the budget until we pass out some form of education funding reform. I think where the districts will fall, if there will be closures, and all of those things are still very much up in the air, so please continue to reach out to us. We put our phone numbers, just our simple phone numbers, no websites, although there are QR codes there to scan to go to our Facebook phones, but our phone numbers are on the flyers up front, so feel free to call anytime, Topper and I, love to hear from everybody. And I wish that I could say with some amount of certainty what education reform is going to look like at this point, but we don't know. As far as what's going on in the other committees, there's still a majority down there that is controlling the agenda, and quite frankly, in my opinion, we are not moving quickly enough on housing issues, on the energy policy that we've created, and that's because the majority controls what legislation is considered and worked on. And I think in the 2026 election cycle, we need to see a shift in Montpelier to see a more balanced legislature, because we're not getting stuff done for Vermonters, in my opinion. I'm not happy about it. If you follow me in the paper or catch me on TV, I'm very vocal about the fact that a lot of folks in that building are out of touch with the affordability crisis that is facing average Vermonters. I have a small painting company. I don't have health insurance. I can barely pay my mortgage. I hear each and every one of you when you're screaming at us saying this cannot continue. At this point, I sit on the House Institutions and Corrections Committee, not a terribly exciting committee, so I'd love to just open it up to any questions you might have and try to answer them as honestly as I can. All right, I'm gonna keep fighting for you. I'll turn it over to Topper.
Good morning, everybody. It's nice to be over here again this year. One of the things that I would like to say is that we represent part of Williamstown, and I don't hear much from the people of Williamstown that I represent. And when I just heard the discussion about education, I said to myself, they must have a lot to say about what's going on in the legislature. And I frankly would like to hear from you more often. There's a flyer that Gino and I left as you come into the gym. You can pick that up, and there's ways to get a hold of us there. There's, you can get on our Facebook page from it. I appreciate it if you read that, and if there's anything that you want to talk to me about, Gina, about, please contact us. Now, because I'm the vice chair of the healthcare committee, you need to know a couple of things. Number one, when that school budget comes into the State House, we don't really have anything to say about it. That comes in, that's from all of the school districts in the state, and frankly, we rubber stamp it. So, you need to know that. So getting back to the healthcare committee, I just want to talk about a couple of things briefly that should interest you. One of them is Bill, its number is H577. And what this is a bill that establishes a drug discount card. It's a Vermont card. Everybody in Vermont will be able to use it. It's going to be run out of the state treasurer's office, and it should help with your prescription drug costs. During the discussion of this bill in our committee, the state treasurer came in to the committee room to be a witness. And I asked him one question. I wanted to know how this prescription discount drug card would work. What I wanted to know is how is it going to affect you and me? And I also wanted to know how is it going to affect the pharmacies. As you probably know, there are a lot of independent pharmacies closing in Vermont, and especially in the rural areas. So I wanted to know how is this going to affect them. So what I want to do is read something to you. This is a memo that the treasurer sent to me. After I asked that question, he said, I'll have to do some research and find out. I said, well, I think it would be nice if we did that so we would know how it's going to affect people and how it's going to affect the pharmacies. Here's what he wrote. Dear Representative McFawn, expanding access to affordable prescription drugs for Vermonters. Page 577 would help residents access lower cost medications at no cost to the state. Individuals that are facing high out-of-pocket costs, this should help them immensely. Page 57 has the potential to save Vermonters more than, now listen to this stuff carefully, more than $18 million annually in prescription drug costs. If just 1% of Vermonters, that's approximately 6,480 residents, if they enroll, it's estimated that collectively they would save $18,118,080. And that is based on what's happening in the state of Connecticut that are using this drug card. They have an average savings of $283 per month. So in my district, this is you and the people in Barrytown, these savings for your district, it means 85 residents saving $237,660. That's what they predict. people that I represent would save by using this card. How about the pharmacy? No forced participation for pharmacists. Age 57 does not require pharmacies to participate in the discount card. Most Vermont pharmacies already accept this card from other states. There's approximately 26 states now that are either directly involved or they're making application to become involved. So, and why can this card do this? Because it's governed by states, not for profit, and designed to protect the margins of the pharmacies. So, if you use this card, at least check it out anyway. If you use it, it might help you with the high cost of prescription drugs. The other thing that I would like to talk to you about is there's another bill that I'm a co-sponsor of, and one of the important pieces of this bill allows businesses in the state of Vermont to apply for a waiver from the federal government so they can come together as an association. And if that happens, the more people you get in those associations, the business will be able to get health care cheaper. That's what is proposed. And the individuals that work in those businesses will be able to get it cheaper. So that's a couple of things that we're doing in the healthcare committee. And as you know, getting back to the education situation, the cost of that, healthcare is one of the biggest costs in the education system. So I would like to just assure you that the healthcare committee is trying desperately to work with the providers, work with the hospitals, work with the board that regulates the hospitals, and the insurance companies. We don't want what happened to Blue Cross Blue Shield to happen again. They almost went bankrupt this last year, and the state stepped in with the help of the university healthcare system, University of Vermont healthcare system, to save that company. So that's about what I wanted to talk about this morning. So Gina can join me up here. This my seatmate would say, like, sits right next to me. So we open it up to questions.
Thanks, appreciate that. I think it's such a bold and audacious statement to purport that the state legislators don't have a lot to do with the funding for our schools, when it is you who decide that funding formula that our taxpayers clearly don't understand because they were here asking questions that they were confused by. So it's really audacious. All of that long-term weighted ADM and all of that, I'm curious whether you could explain it, because that's policy that is set by the legislator. My question is, this collective that you're talking about, is that similar to the one that the teachers were forced into in 2018, and since then we've had double-digit rate increases for teachers' health care? Because that was something the state was going to negotiate to save our district's money, and since then we've had a double-digit rate increase for the cost of providing teachers' health insurance every single year until this year, and boards have no say in that. This year was 7% increase, and that's the first year since 2018 when you were going to save all of these towns money that we didn't have a double-digit increase, and that's something that, you know, we kind of have to rubber stamp because you guys said it was going to save us money.
Would you like me to answer that?
I would love to.
If I can. It's similar to what you're talking about. It was supposed to work the way you said it was.
Sure was.
It didn't. We're hoping that by doing what we're doing now, getting that waiver from the government and the federal government, that is, And if we get enough people into those associations, we're hoping it'll work. We're told it will work. It will.
Yeah, my question, I got two questions. One is related to what you just said. Why do you just rubber stamp it?
Yeah. Okay, so when Palmer said that we rubber stamp the budgets, that's not exactly true. The bottom line is, your local school boards make your budget. That's who deals with your budget. That's the illusion of local control that you have right now. When they change the school funding formula so that they throw all of the school budgets into one pot, our job is to figure out how to fund it. The biggest problem with the whole school funding formula, in my humble opinion, and this isn't going to go over well with members of the school board here, is local school boards are no longer tied to the local tax rate. So it's not, because everything gets thrown in one pot of money. So you guys are judicious, you only raise by 3 or 4%. You've got schools in Chittenden County that are going up 16%. You're paying for those schools. Yeah, that's the deal. Now, the idea of that was all to bring equity of student funding, and that it's been a disaster. Since we changed the funding formula, our scores have gone down, and this hasn't worked. So, in my opinion, it's going to take a grenade to completely revamp this way of funding students. And I think the biggest thing we can do this year in the legislature is to push out a foundation formula so school boards are given a finite amount of money to work with and cap the increases we can have every year. However, you do have, problems with healthcare skyrocketing, and that's a demographics problem. That's not necessarily like, we can come up with 100 different ways to try to look at, healthcare reform, but when you have an aging population that's dependent on healthcare, and you have a very shrinking young population paying into the premium pool, it just doesn't work. And quite frankly, when I moved back here, I was born and raised in Barrie, and when I moved back here in 2018, healthcare wasn't affordable to me then as a small business owner. So again, I think it's going to take a grenade and something bold to shake up our healthcare system as well. And I don't have those answers right now. I'm working on them, but it's not that we rubber stamp things. It's just that the system is fundamentally broken. So just to say something. Go ahead.
My other question relates to the health cards system. You said it's no charge to the, it's not going to cost the state any money. Who is paying for it?
There is a small fee that is built into the cost of a particular drug. And there are many states that have joined together. So there's a huge pool. And that little fee that is paid when you buy the drug is sent into the main office, which is in Oregon. And that's how it's paid for. But remember, it's not for profit. Other cards are for profit.
Yeah, I've heard about the not-for-profit.
So we're hoping, because it's not for profit, that fee is going to be small enough so that it'll be insignificant.
Yeah, I'm back again. I've noticed something that seems to be repetitive. Every time the state and the legislature get involved in something, like the school, the healthcare, and everything else, and the redistricting of schools, it costs us money. It doesn't save us money. Every time they get involved, it costs us money. Maybe the state should get less involved, and what's that?
Bring back local control.
Bingo. We're tied into everything else all over the state, and it's supposed to be better, it's supposed to be better, it's better for some people. It's not better for Williamstown. And, somebody's got this big fantasy that everybody makes $150,000 a year. As you know, that doesn't happen. And you gotta do something. Every time the state gets involved in something, it costs money. We gotta find a way to keep the state out of this stuff and get back to the local control and let the people make the decisions, not the legislature, because I'm sorry, but it's not working. Can you explain how that's supposed to work? Because every time you say something's supposed to work, or how it should work, you don't have any concrete evidence that it's going to work. That I have a problem with. Can you tell me how that's viable?
I don't disagree with you, but what I can tell you is the reason that you lost local control of school funding and budgets wasn't because of the state of Vermont. Were forced to set in because of a court decision that forced the state of Vermont to guarantee education equity, and that's how this whole mess started. That's what it goes back to. There was a lawsuit saying that if your property taxes in wealthy communities, those students were getting better opportunities than kids in poorer communities. So because of that judicial precedent, they came up with this mess of funding that we have right now. And you brought up a good point earlier. I don't necessarily disagree with you. St. John's Great Academy seems to be putting out pretty good results. Maybe you should look at having Williamstown Academy.
I'm thinking that myself, because we used to have a very good school system here.
Absolutely.
A lot of years ago. And the state's got involved, and then we got this merger that cost us more money, which was supposed to save us money. So, I don't see where the dollars and cents is making sense.
Neither do I, but I'm only one woman.
Well,
180 people.
maybe we gotta do something different, maybe we gotta attack it all from a different way, but this, separate Williamstown Academy thing, I'd like to see some numbers on that for another year.
Well, I think you should spearhead the committee and get it going.
I probably wouldn't be good for that. I can ask a lot of questions and put a lot of thought somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to get creative across the board. When I came into the legislature with the supermajority and all of the federal funds that we still had available, people in that building got completely out of touch with what 633,000 people can afford in this state.
Right.
And, the reality is, now all the federal funding's gone and all the ARPA money's gone, and folks need to start making tough decisions in that building. Things are gonna have to get cut, and that's just the reality of this situation.
Yeah, we gotta sharpen some pencils somewhere.
They cut me off.
They cut you off, yeah.
I don't. Does it have a battery in it?
Yeah, batteries are
I'll yell, don't worry.
Okay, but anyway, that was just my thoughts on it, that maybe something can be done.
Agreed.
Just so that you'll know, what Gina was talking about is the court decision was called the Brigham decision. And that's what started this whole thing.
Hi, this is not about healthcare or schools. I was thinking a lot about a comment that you made, Rep. Galfetti, about how nothing interesting happens in house corrections and institutions. And it is actually a committee that I follow frequently for my work. I work with the state. And I think that there's a lot going on actually in that committee that can be addressed and looked at to reallocate funding in the other areas that we are talking about, like healthcare and education, especially because it costs $120,000 to $150,000 per person per year to incarcerate individuals in this state, and that's on the low end. So I guess I just wanted to make that comment and say that I find house institutions very interesting in how we can identify other system failings in our state, because people aren't incarcerated for no reason. I understand the governor has a very large public safety plan that he's released that does involve your committee. I know pretrial supervision has been a big conversation topic of issue there. But yeah, so I just kind of wanted to say that I find your work very interesting and that it does a disservice to the folks who work in those areas to say that that it can't contribute in other ways, I guess.
Certainly, and I appreciate your comment, and I apologize. Quite frankly, you're right, there are, it just is one of those committees that doesn't have a lot of the big highlighted items that people are interested, or seem to be interested in here today. But you're right, there is, we are doing some more pre-trial supervision, we're looking at, how we're gonna incarcerate folks going forward. There's a lot of discussion about what we're gonna do about the new living facility and things like that, but it's not like those big, healthcare, affordability, housing right now.
But I do think that it shines a light on larger gaps in systems of care across the state because again, folks just aren't being incarcerated for no reason. We've got folks who don't have housing security or food security, who can't, who have substance use disorders and things like that, and those are gaps also that we're seeing across the state. I know that there's been a large conversation too about the out-of-state population. I think there was Justice Reinvestment 1 and 2, where we were saving the state money by pulling those individuals back. And I've seen personally a big swing in the opposite direction where we're just trying to incarcerate more people, which is costing us, everyone, more money because we have to pay to house them and feed them and pay them their job, which they're not making a livable wage, which is another thing I know that your committee has picked up, etc. So I think that our carceral system in Vermont is like a really big microscope on the bigger issues that we're seeing outside of that system. So I just wanted to shed that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Two parts or two separate comments. The first one is I have a question. I'm hoping you can explain the process by which legislatures are engaged. Like you said, you have a part-time painting business. Like
That's not part-time, it's full-time, it's 7 days a week.
So how does that interact? Because I have concerns. I've noticed a pattern where a lot of our legislators are, landlords, property owners, people who are independently wealthy and go into legislation. And so I'm wondering if there's, what the system for compensation is. Is there a way to bring in legislators who are actually common folk who don't have enough?
You're looking at one right now.
Yeah, so I'm curious about that. And the second one, I'd love to hear about juvenile justice. I'm particularly concerned with the intersection of mental health and adolescent justice. Being involved in the school system, I just feel like Vermont has a really, I've seen a pretty big gap in, like, what do we do when a teen maybe is unhoused, and I would just like to hear what is being talked about in your committees for juvenile justice.
Juvenile justice, beyond the facility, building the facility itself, isn't in my committee. That'd be something that judiciary would be looking at. But we just, we have to build a better youth facility for justice-involved juveniles, and I completely agree with you. The intersection of mental health, substance abuse, all of those things are, very important. Housing to, have a healthy Vermonters in general, and then. What was the first part of your question? I'm sorry.
Oh, just, I don't want to flat out ask how much you get paid to be a legislator, but like, why are they all so rich? Like,
well, it's actually the opposite. You don't get paid enough to be a legislator.
Right.
I don't disagree with you, but every time, unfortunately, it's like, for me, okay, so I wear, I'm a Republican. It's hard for me to push that, but I don't disagree with you. I can barely make this work. I work 7 days a week. I paint all weekend. I'm painting wallpaper. I'm like, and I do it because I just truly care, and I think that we need more people like me who are like reasonable, business-minded, struggling Vermonters in the legislature. So I would be happy to get a raise and not be struggling so hard to be able to do this. Because every time I look at running for re-election, I'm like, is it worth taking this much out of my business and struggling that hard to serve my community? Because I am the exception in the building, not the rule. I mean, it is, composed of a lot of people that are retired, a lot of people that are independently wealthy trust owners, the whole 9 yards that have this disposable income to be able to serve. So I think that it would increase the quality of the legislature if we got a raise. Because I walk like about around $750 a week, and my mortgage is $2,000. So do the math. That doesn't really work out very well. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, but it's kind of hard to ask Vermonters that are struggling to pay more to the legislature. The optics of that don't exactly go over well. So we'll see.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is Donna LeBlanc. I'm a resident. I saw on Vermont Daily Chronicle, Gina,
Yes.
that you proposed a 3-year property tax freeze.
I did.
I just wondered where that was at and to help taxpayers in Vermont.
Yeah, what happened with that is the majority party didn't like it. They didn't want to work on it. They finally gave me 15 minutes of airtime last Friday, crossovers next week, and it appears that Sheriff Kornheiser from Brattleboro, who thinks we don't have a tax problem, we can ask her about that, isn't interested in taking it up. There is a bill, Senator Ruth actually put in a cap in the Senate that may have some legs, and then we'll have to look how much we buy down the rate, but it's not gonna be good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Also for health care costs, I'm retired and I have Medicare. I had an Advantage plan, but they all left the state of Vermont. The only one that was left was what my husband and I have, and guess what? Not one hospital is in network. Even my local Central Vermont Medical Center is not in network. Dartmouth is not in network. UVM is not in network. But the costs, I'm paying more out of pocket for premiums, for my medications. This is not a good choice. There's nothing was offered a better choice than the Advantage plans that I used to have. And I can understand why the health care costs for the average Vermonter who's working through the Green Mountain Board are paying higher premiums, so high that they can't even keep the insurance. So what are they proposing? What's the legislature proposing for those people? Because I don't like my Advantage plan that I have now, but there's nothing I can do.
I know there were some off-ramps for the Advantage plan. Have you called the Office of the Healthcare Advocate, Vermont Healthcare Advocate? They can walk you through some of that. There are some alternatives now that they got rid of those Advantage plans, but...
Well, somebody was making money off those Advantage plans.
Yeah,
Why would the hospitals were angry because they were not getting paid enough? Who made money off those Advantage plans?
Well, the insurance company.
So Blue Cross, but you're saying that Blue Cross...
They don't make enough money on the Advantage plans, is my understanding. That's
They
why
walked
they
out
phased
of the Advantage plan. We don't have a Blue Cross Advantage plan. I had it.
Yeah, no, they're not now.
The Advantage plans are gone. When Gina talked to you, I told you about the healthcare advocate, that office in Vermont Legal Aid, they have a list of things that they can talk to you about, might be able to help you. But at this juncture, the state is not planning anything.
All right, thank you very much. I wish we could make, the school budget a lot better. So I'm just gonna say, I recommend everybody to vote Democrats right out of the legislature. We'll end with that.
Thank you.
Okay, we've been told that we've got a...
Hold on, I have a question. Hold on.
I'm holding on.
Can you tell us, I'm sorry, can you tell us about Act 181? What's your feelings on that, Eric?
181 and the whole, the land classification thing is very problematic on so many different levels. I think, you know, we've got H70 on the wall of environment to try to deal with the whole classification of, you know, land that's in current use under conserved land for the 30 by 30 and 50 by 50. The road rules in there are, you know, very problematic. Yeah, I didn't vote for it. If you'd like to have a longer conversation offline, I'd be happy to, but there's a lot of problems with 181 that we're trying to fix now.
No, okay. Just talking about general fund and income, in 2023, the legislature made a law that Vermont was no longer going to register vehicles to non-residents, which then those non-residents who Vermont collected money from for 70, 80 years, collected taxes, registration fee, title fees, millions of dollars of income to Vermont. So in 2023, the legislature decided not to register to non-residents anymore. And then on January 1st of 2024, all DMV fees went up 18%. Can you make sense of that for us?
No.
You know, one thing that, I don't like to get into Democrats and Republicans and stuff like that, but the Republican caucus does not run that building. And when you ask a question like that, we might have voted against that. We might have gave some ideas to the committee that was working on it, and it didn't happen. Nothing happened, except they raised the fees.
Right, so we have all these budgetary issues. We had income, millions and millions of dollars in income from out-of-state residents who registered their vehicles in Vermont. And now, since then, we raise other fees for in-state folks.
You're absolutely right, it's ludicrous.
The other question I had was that a Vermonter will work for 30 years, for 35 years, say as like a Sawyer, and they pay in their retirement, they pay in the Social Security, comes out of their paycheck every week or bi-weekly. But then after they retire, they are then taxed on their Social Security income and on their retirement income, which then they pay taxes on this for 30, 35 years.
We put Milton and Topper and I both signed on to them both, you know, since I've been here in Topper and longer before that to eliminate taxes on Social Security. There's no appetite in the majority to take it out.
So how do we advocate for, how do we get that changed?
Change for people that are in there.
Okay, thank you.
I'll accept
You know, I hate to get into that.
Thank you.
I hate to get into that kind of a discussion, because there are people in there that are willing to work together from both sides of the aisle. But when the vote comes, you can be damn sure that everybody in one particular party is in line.
Thank you all so much, and please, just a regular telephone number, no websites, no Facebook, or on our flyers, call us. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
That's all right, yeah, I'm good.
Thank you, guys. All right, that was very enlightening, and obviously we have a lot of people with very strong opinions, and that's awesome. We just need to get those opinions directed to the right places so maybe things can get moving. At this point, we are going to begin the town portion of the town meeting. And I'm going to ask our town clerk to read the warning.
The legal voters of the town of Williamstown and the county of Orange and the state of Vermont are hereby warned and notified to meet at the Williamstown High School on Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026 at 10 o'clock in the morning to discuss the following articles. Voting for all Australian ballot articles in elections will be held in the gymnasium at Williamstown Middle High School, Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026 from 10 o'clock in the forenoon until 7 o'clock in the evening. Article 1, to elect all necessary town and town school district officers for the ensuing year by Australian ballot for the purposes of Article 1, 2, and 3. The polls will be open from 10 a.m. to act upon the following articles. Moderator, 1 year. Select board member, 3 years. Select board member, 2 years. School director, 3 years. School director, 3 years. Trustee of public funds, 3 years. Cemetery commissioner, 5 years. Cemetery commissioner, 3 years of a 5 years remaining. Library trustee, 1 year of a 5 year remaining. Library trustee, 3 years of 5 years remaining. Library trustee, 5 years. Trustee of the Henry S. Baker Fund, 3 years. Article 2, shall the voters approve of adding $250,000 to the general budget in order to hire an independent contracted firm to perform a forensic audit on the town's financial system, records, and internal controls. Article 3, shall the voters authorize the Williamstown Road Rehab Project in the amount not to exceed $1 million to be financed over a period not to exceed 10 years through the Vermont Bond Bank. Article 4, to hear and act upon the reports of the town officers. Article 5, shall the town pay its property taxes to the treasurer on or before November 15, 2026, and delinquent taxes and assessments have charged against them an 8% penalty and interest charges of 1% per month or fraction thereof from the due date as provided in 32 VSA section 4773 and 5136. Article 6, shall the voters authorize the select board to take advantage of any state and federal monies available. Article 7, shall the voters authorize the select board to borrow money to pay the current expenses of the town in anticipation of money to be received from taxes and the state of Vermont. Article 8, shall the voters authorize the town to pay its select board members $1,000 and the chairman $1,500 and all other elected officers $14.01 per hour and the chairman $15.01 per hour except for the town clerk. Article 9, shall the voters authorize to have the names of all delinquent taxpayers, including water and sewer users, with the total amount of delinquencies printed in the town report as of December 31st, 2026. Article 10, shall the voters approve the sum of $1,609,388.55 to support the general budget, of which includes the fire department. Article 11, shall the voters approve the sum of $1,467,824.74 to support the highway budget. Article 12, shall the voters approve transferring the 2025 general fund surplus in the amount of $58,711.77 to the tax stabilization fund. Article 13. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $50,000 from the tax stabilization fund to reduce the 2026-2027 taxes? Article 14. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $59,873.20 to support Williamstown cemeteries? Article 15. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $139,234 to support the Ainsworth Public Library? Article 16. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $12,000 to support the Williamstown Historical Society? Article 17. Shall the voters appropriate the sum of $52,072 in support of Orange County Parent-Child Center, $750. Berry Area Senior Center, $1,500. Orange County Restorative Justice, $500. Elevate Youth Service, $250. CV Home Health and Hospice, $6,700. CV Council on Aging, $1,750. CV Adult Basic Education, $1,500. CV Economic Development Court, $500. GMTA, $2,004. Williamstown Food Shelf, $15,000. Williamstown Beautification, $1,500. Williamstown Youth Sports, $8,500. Vermont Center of Independent Living, $500. American Red Cross, $1,500. Safe Line, $1,200. Clara Martin Center, $4,968. Green Up, $150. Family Center of Washington County, $500. Henry S. Baker Fund, $2,500. And Good Beginnings of Central Vermont, $300. Article 18. To transact any other business deemed necessary and proper. Dated the 19th day of January 2026, Williamstown Select Board, Larry Hebert Chairman, Clayton Woodward, Cody Griggs, Scott McCarthy, Tyler Mitchell, received for record, January 22nd, 2026, Barbara Graham, Town Clerk.
Alrighty, before we begin, if there are no objections, I would ask that our new town manager, Ryan Lockwood, be able to speak. He is not a Williamstown resident, but may have input in answering questions. So, are there any objections to having him speak? All right, very good. Seeing none, we'll move on. Okay, we've gone through the first three articles are by Australian ballot, so we will begin with Article 4. To hear and act upon the reports of the town officers. Reminder, if you're going to make a motion and you are able, or to second a motion, please stand and state your name clearly.
It was my understanding, unless the rules have changed, even if it's Australian, unless the rules have changed, it's my understanding that even though the articles are on Australian ballot, they can still be discussed.
Yeah, I mean, you could discuss like the school board, but you cannot, it's similar to the school board, but they, yes.
Very good, okay, we'll open that up. I apologize. That was a mistake on my part.
Ben Moffat, I would like to, moderator, request clarification as to how those items became Australian ballot items. I can recall last year and the year before, there was significant conversation amongst this group who turned out for town meeting day that we wanted our articles to be discussed and voted on the floor. So I would like to know how those items got added to an Australian ballot vote without the approval of these people. Thank you.
Well, on the Friends that Got It, we had a group of people come into the town manager's, the select board meeting right after the town manager was arrested and was requiring the Friends that Got It. And the select board agreed to do it without having to get a bunch of signatures to enforce it. One of the conditions that we find out how much it was going to cost, and then it would be put before the voters by Australian ballot. That's how that came about. And with the road rehab fund, it's a bond vote, just like any other bond votes that we've had in the past. They've all been voted by Australian ballots for that amount of money. So, yeah, that's over, it's over a 10-year period, and it's different than voting on an annual highway budget. It's a 1-year deal. So, all votes I'm aware of have all been Australian ballots.
Can I answer the question?
No. I would like to know I'd like to know what authority under the Secretary of State's rules of elections that we have, that you have, to do that arbitrarily and one-sided.
Yeah, so I was here last year, I do remember that, and I'm new to this, I'm still learning stuff as well. I don't know if this is allowed. Can the select board take a poll, like by a show of hands, moving forward, who would like all articles to be on the floor? Is that something that we can do?
No. The bond vote has to be Australian ballot. I do know that.
And this, I mean, by all means, if anybody has questions, I can talk to after. I just know personally, I don't think there was any ill intent by anybody on the board. I can only speak for myself. There certainly wasn't on my part. If I'm not wrong, you guys, I think it was about the Australian ballot part, and something the bond we had to, but it was just about getting more votes, more people to be able to have a vote on it. But if you guys let me know, I can certainly in the future, if that's what the majority wants, to make sure as much as possible articles are on the floor, I will certainly put my voice towards that.
Still haven't answered the question.
All right,
Question still hasn't been answered, moderator, the question still has not been answered. You had an option and say, hey, give me a call, but the question at hand still has not been answered.
A lot of people couldn't hear him.
okay, we're gonna ask the select board again. A lot of people were having difficulty, hearing you and understanding what you were saying.
No, I think the difficulty is that we want to know where in the state election rules it gives the select board the authority to make that call. So I'm guessing that no one at this table knows that answer.
I don't. I'm for one of not up to date on exactly what this, if we could call Australian ballot or not. But we felt that in the nature of it, we have, I'll have to have Barbara correct me if I'm wrong, roughly 2,000 voters versus last year we had 73 at town meeting. And both articles are important. We felt it should be voted on by the public rather than just a few at town meeting. As far as the bond vote goes, I know every bond that I know of has been by Australian ballot. Forensic audit is a different animal. I don't, maybe we should have done it here. I don't know. I mean, what the right choice is everyone's still going to have a chance to vote on it, whichever way they want to go.
There's nothing to discuss if we can't amend it.
Yeah, we can't amend anything that is an
That's the
article.
point, that's
Once
the
it's an
point.
article, it's being voted on, and it is what it is.
Could address your comments to the moderator, please. First, I just want to say that is apparently the best answer we're going to get, and we'll have to wait for legal feedback on that. I am not a lawyer, can't answer that. I don't believe anybody here is, so unfortunately. So we are, because of my mistake, we are going to open the 3 Australian ballot items for discussion, but no action can be taken on those items. So let's open up the meeting. Steve, sorry.
I was muttering under my breath into a microphone, sorry.
Is there any discussion on Article 1? Okay, seeing none. Oh, wait, we do have.
Forensic audit is going to be very expensive, we all know that.
We're on
Article 1.
Article 1. Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, seeing no discussion on Article 1, we will move to Article 2. Shall the voters approve of adding $250,000 to the general budget in order to hire an independent contracted firm to perform a forensic audit on the town's financial systems, records, and internal controls? If you wish to speak to this, please do come to the microphone and give your name clearly, please.
Danielle Moffett. I'd like to know why, when the concerns were raised in November, the select board did not even solicit bids for a forensic audit. Where did the $250,000 figure come from? There was plenty of time to have actual agencies put together bids, and this feels like fear-mongering, to say the least. I don't know, we could have very easily done, hey, a not to exceed $50,000, let's look into some areas, and I'm just curious where this number came from. Because it's like the same number you threw out when we wanted it 20 years ago to scare us out of getting one.
Well, your statement is incorrect. The select board did solicit bids, I believe it was around the first of the year, or they had to be back in by the first of the year, their first meeting, January 5th, I believe it was. And we got 5 different bids. Actually, we got 6 different bids. The requested proposals were to provide an audit review to see if the forensic audit was necessary, and then the price for the forensic audit itself. We had 6 different proposals. There was only one that actually made the proposal as requested. The first one just had a proposal for preliminary and forensic audit was $205,000. The second bid was just for a preliminary audit of $25,000. The third one was unknown, was left blank. And then there was the fourth one, was $100,000 for preliminary audit, $250,000 for forensic. The fifth one was $17,500 for preliminary. That's all they had. And last one was $55,000 for preliminary audit and $165,000 for forensic, for a total of $220,000. That last one is the only one that actually did it exactly as we requested. And then it come up for $250,000 is we got to go back for forensic audit. The manager worked for the town for 14.5 years. There would be a lot of information that these auditors would be seeking from the list, from town clerk, town treasurer, town staff, etc. It was be required to just spend more hours in overtime to provide that. So we had an additional 30,000 in to cover that. So the total came to 250. So we actually did, the proposals came in, they were read aloud at the January 5th select board meeting.
The preliminary audit or the annual audit, does that look at the town reserve funds? Because I've asked at multiple annual meetings now to have those reported out, like the sale of the ambulance that happened a few years ago. There's no record of where that money ever went. It's really hard to know whether I want to approve like a $465,000 highway reserve fund or whatever without knowing how much money is in those reserve funds to begin with. So that was another question that I have for y'all.
I guess I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Okay, I'll ask it, I think it might be a town manager one, I'll leave this.
Sandra Couillard. So, a while back, I received these two letters from the select board. And I'm just gonna quote your own words here. Employees may need to devote many hours to responding, etc. So my question is, who drafted these letters? Who printed them, folded them, stuffed them into envelopes, and put the address labels on them? Because was that town employees or volunteers?
I drafted the initial letters, and we went through them at a select board meeting. The select board gave them input and made those changes, but it was town employees that stepped in and made those letters.
So my point is, and town employees to send out what I would consider a please vote no letter, and you're still, you're hypocritical a little bit in your wording.
John Taylor. I wanted to just check with the board. I hope that you talk to the current auditing firm, had them look through.
Excuse me, could you step closer to the microphone so people can hear you?
How about that? No? How about that?
Can everybody hear now? Okay.
All right, so I hope that you talk to the current auditing firm, and then look through the various audits. There's also a thing that comes with each audit called the management letter. Now, at one point I asked Jackie, because I saw what she handed out to the board, and they never got the management letter. The management letter says, yeah, we looked at everything, we kind of, everything looked okay, but these things would help in managing the money, where it goes and how you handle it and da-da-da-da. And it's sort of their CYA, if you will. Okay, yeah, we looked at it. So if you had them look at the management letters to see, did the town follow those pieces of advice about handling the money, about getting things to where it needs to be, and look at the audit, it would give you a roadmap sort of to work with these bidders on how to conduct the forensic audit. Now, this is just me from being involved with the town over the years. I wouldn't look at the first contract that she had, because she's going to try to do a good job for you. I look at the next 3 years after you renew her initial contract. That's what we want to look at. The other place I start is after Cliff left. He was our treasurer for a number of years, and he was very good. He put us on a nice track. He kept going. And then he left to make more money, didn't stay. So that would give you a roadmap to work with the vendor on or the contractor to conduct a forensic audit of things. It's a targeted thing, not random. So if they look at the little targets to see if they spot something, then they can do a workout product. and it'll probably cost you a lot less, so then, I think that's important if you go forward. Now, maybe people aren't gonna vote for this, they're probably not going to, but doing this groundwork will help you know if you got screwed isn't the right word, whatever. So the town, could have done a better job and maybe lost some money. So you'd have better answers for people going forward, and it wouldn't cost you nearly as much as doing the full audit. I don't know whether people are going to approve it or not. So I just wanted to run that by you.
I understand what you're saying, but we're talking like 14 and a half years worth of work. I will tell everyone that we've heard from both the former auditors that audit the books every year for the town and the current auditors, along with our town treasurer. And they all say that there's no way, that the way our system is, I mean, this is a much different system than it was where the fire department was, that she was involved with. To me, it sounded like that was pretty much let her do what she wants, nobody was looking over her shoulder. Our books are audited every year by professional auditors. We pay to have it done. Both of them said that the forensic audit is a waste of money, waste of time. Including the treasurer, the town manager is only as collector of delinquent taxes and delinquent water and sewer bills. But before she can collect those bills, the bills are generated through the treasurer. The treasurer has all the accounts, handles all the money. As soon as delinquencies are paid, it's turned over to the treasurer and accounted for. Now, if anyone in this room had paid their water bill or property taxes, and then got another bill the next month, they'd be right in saying, I paid that. I mean, that's the way the system is. And so, the checks and balances in place for all that stuff, so it cannot happen. That's the reason why they said that they don't feel the need for it. The only reason why it's taking place is because a large group of people came before the select board, they requested that we do it. That's why we're here. We did what we said we would do. It's now up to people to vote if they want to do it or not.
Well, that brings me to another thing. That in the initial, when this all came up, you talked about how we had sort of checks and balances and ways to check things, and you were pretty sure that we were doing okay. But I want to point out that by statute, funds come in through the clerk's office. They go to the treasurer, and then the town manager manages to the budget. That's what's happened. As people around here can tell you, we've been paying our taxes to the town manager's office. And who controls the treasurer? Town manager. It's all been put in her hands. Oh. It's not, you don't have the checks, and yes, you look at the warrants, you don't know, maybe when the warrants came back, something wasn't added, you don't know that. Did you ever go back around later and check it and see if it was the same warrant that you agreed to? Probably didn't. There are all sorts of ways. I'm not good at it. I can't tell you that that's what's happening. I don't know how to cheat the system, but somebody who does know how to cheat the system will cheat the system. I'm just saying that. I don't want you to respond, but I saw that as a flaw in what you told the press.
Okay, I'm back. The forensic audit, we all know, is going to cost us an awful lot of money. We don't know if there was any money missing. But if there was money missing, the money that was missing, I believe, we would get back because anybody that handles money for the town is bonded. We won't get the cost of the audit back, but we would, I believe, get back anything that was missing or misappropriated. That's another issue altogether, that some of that money, like a FEMA money or something, may not have gone to where, may or may not, I don't know, gone to where it was supposed to go. And that would show up in the audit. So that's just something else to think about, as far as I'm concerned. There's a lot more to it than what's being led, I mean, all we've heard, most of what we've heard about since this started is how much it's gonna cost. Nobody ever says anything about the bonding that if there was money missing, we'd get that back. It seemed that it was, pushed that we shouldn't, we should be biased against doing the audit because of the cost, and there was nothing there to show any benefits. And I'm kind of concerned about that scenario where the benefits or anything were not displayed to begin with. It was all just the cost. So that makes me wonder if maybe something wasn't moved where it wasn't supposed to be or something, and I don't know what it was. I do not know.
Is there anyone who wants to respond to that?
Yeah, I'll take a step.
Hi, I'm Sean McCarthy. You were at the meeting this all first Saturday, and there was about 30 in the other attendance, I think. And it was overwhelming that everybody wanted the audit.
Yeah.
So, put it out to bid. Everything that we got back was in that letter. And we just put it out to voters. I mean, it's up to you guys.
Right, and I just want to clarify that how it went out, that it was all about the cost, not about any potential money back. And I realized that there probably wasn't anything on. I understand that. I'm just upset at the fact that everything was solely negative to doing it because of the cost.
It's what it costs.
Yeah, I realize that.
I mean, I don't know how else you would like us to put it.
No, but
that is what it's
there
going to
was
cost.
never any mention of if there was anything missing, that there was a way it was going to come back through the bonding.
Right.
I was kind of upset about that. And I just want to make that clear so that anything in the future ever happens, that all the scenarios are covered, not just the downside. That's what I'm trying to say across.
I don't know if I call it the downside. I mean, we gave you the facts.
Right.
As they.
You gave us the facts of the cost, which is what we needed to know.
That's it.
And it's a very expensive project to undertake. But if there was something going wrong, there was a recourse to get money back, is what I'm saying. And that was never mentioned. It was almost like it was pushed not to do it. And you and I both know what it's going to cost and the downside of that. It's very expensive.
Right.
But I just wanted to make that clear that it should have been also mentioned in that. And so going forward, anything in the future, 5 years down the road, gets all the information on it that we have.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
I can assure you that we've provided all the information that we've got on it. We got all the numbers, the auditors and stuff, and everything that we said we would do. And we were told by one of the former auditors that even if we, for his audit turned up something, you're still gonna be able to collect it afterwards. But there is insurance, telling each member of the select board and the town staff are insured through the insurance company. But basically the scenario is, and I'm just putting this out there as a scenario, if we turned up, say, $20,000, we'd either get it recovered from the person or the insurance company would pay for it. But they're not gonna pay for this elected forensic audit of $250,000. The town's gonna be on the hook for that. So it's whatever the people decide. If they wanna gamble it, think they're gonna get a lot, may happen, may not, may get a little, may not find anything, I don't know. But you're still gonna have to pay for the $250,000, and whatever comes up will be covered, most likely by insurance or recovered from the person who took it.
Good morning. My name is Conrad Beatty. I've lived in the town of Williamstown for a considerable amount of time. I date back to when this body used to elect the auditors, and we audited all the town accounts. Yes, it is a big job, and we got paid an hourly rate for doing that. We had three auditors on the board of auditors. However, at a certain point, everybody decided, including the state people and leading cities and towns, that, oh well, they ought to have a professional auditor that was a licensed accountant to do the auditing. So we no longer elected auditors, and we went to hiring a professional accountant / auditor. And my question is, do we still do that on a regular, normal basis?
Every year was conducted, every year.
So every year we've had a professional licensed auditor audit the books. And we have not found through their reports any problems. I think I answered your question pretty well right there.
Do those annual audits look at the balances in the reserve funds?
What's that?
Do the annual audits look at the balances in the reserve funds? Because they're not reported out in the town report, so I have no idea what they are, and it's really difficult to vote to put more money into a reserve fund when I don't know what is in there to begin with. And it seems to me, best case scenario, that money is all there. But again, I bring up the sale of the ambulance. Where did that money go? It is not reported here. I bring up the fact that, oh, truck replacement reserve for the fire department. This year we want $110,000. Next year we want $120,000. But I don't know how much is in that fund already. If there's already $2 million in that fund, I'm not giving you $120,000 to put into a reserve. That's silly. And I think that the point that I don't remember his name, the bearded gentleman, there were several of you made, about the accentuating the benefits of having a forensic audit is really important. One of the benefits would be that Williamstown's not a town to come screw around with. And so I think it's really important that we send the message that we hold people accountable in this town, whether money was taken or not.
Is there any further discussion?
Question, does the audit look at the reserve funds?
I don't have the full audit in front of me, but I recall we went through it with the auditors, the select board did, along with town staff, and they have every item accounted for. I don't have it with me today to discuss it with you, it's not in here.
Where do we get that?
Do we get a full town audit from the stop town office, town manager, commission?
It's also on the website.
What's that?
It's on the website.
We post the full audit results on the town website as well, so they'll be findable on there. The typical annual audit for a town, and I haven't read through all of Williamstown, so the other towns I've worked for, they will go to each like major account and they'll pull random lines from it. So they will look at the reserve account, but not every line in the reserve account. So it's just like a little sampling from each major account usually.
So if someone would cut a check from a reserve account and that wouldn't have shown up?
No, that would 100% have to be through the treasurer. Yeah, the town manager doesn't have any access to cutting checks.
Does that answer your question? Okay, is your Article 2? Or?
We're discussing.
Your name, please?
My name is Ivan LeBlanc. Live out on Route 1. We've been there for 32 years. We're discussing the $250,000, right? We're discussing the $250,000. That's a lot of cabbage for evidence that we've already been given by the 2 audits and your system in place. It seems to me, now this is my opinion, that voting in $250,000 is a waste of time and serious money. Because we've already got the evidence that we need, that we have. There's no evidence of any wrongdoing. So why on earth do we need to go spend more money on this issue? Now, even if you were to find some delinquent funds, the issue is, now you gotta get it back. You may have to hire lawyers. The defendant may fight it for some reason. So I'm just expressing my opinion in a way that says this is a non-issue. It shouldn't. I hope it turns out to be a non-issue because we're wasting time for the town. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Braver. My problem is the annual audit that we get doesn't cover even half of the accounts. So all of this saying that you haven't found anything and it's been done, it hasn't been done. And I'm sure the fire department in Tunbridge had their own checks and balances. But obviously it didn't work. So what is the proof that it worked here? When we've already seen that things aren't being honest, or you guys aren't being honest about where things are going and how our funds are being spent.
Well, the way our system works, the only money that the manager has any access to or is involved with is delinquent property taxes and delinquent water and sewer taxes. All other funds go directly to the treasurer and from the treasurer, and it's paid out, and then it comes in, goes directly to the treasurer. When a person fails to pay their water and sewer or property taxes, it becomes delinquent, then it's turned over to the town manager for collection. The town manager is the collector of delinquent water and sewer taxes. Once that money is collected, it's then turned back to the treasurer for accounting, and bills marked paid. They'll either get, if it isn't paid, they'll get another bill, or if it has been paid and they get another bill, they begin screaming about it because they already paid it. So that's the first checks and balance right there. And then the second is, every year we have an annual audit of everything, all the town transactions by the auditors. And both the former and the current auditors both have said the forensic audit is not needed. You're going to find, they said even forensic audit may not find anything, a small amount. It's almost impossible. This could be missed by even a forensic audit. They're very comfortable, along with our treasurer, that no funds have been missing. I'm not going to sit here saying there's none that have been misplaced in small amounts. I'm pretty confident no major amounts have been missing because they would show up in these audits. So, like I said, each member of the town staff and the select board are insured. If you couldn't get the money back out of whoever misplaced it or took it, insurance would probably cover it. But they're not going to cover the cost of the forensic audit. That's an elective thing that the town decided to do. The town will be on the hook for the $250,000 if they collect nothing, if they collect $20,000, if they collect $200,000. I mean, it's up to you people to decide. The select board, was enough people in the room that meeting that all they would have to do was go down by the dump and get enough petitions in one day to force this vote, just like we're having here right now. And just like one would have no choice in it, we'd have to go along with it. So we felt rather than saving them the effort to do that, they were adamant, very adamant about it. There was a lot of people who agreed to do it without them having to go get those signatures. Other than that, we did everything. We put all the information out there we got, even the information from the auditors. Everything's out there for everybody to see. It's your choice to decide whether you want to do it or not. It's not the board's choice, it's your choice. So.
Sorry, just real quick, you guys, I also wanted to make a point too that I believe it was before COVID, Horace Duke did go over the books for the town, if I'm not mistaken, pretty frequently, if it wasn't monthly. Before COVID, that was being done for quite a long time. So there was another pair of eyes on the accounts before COVID, and then COVID stuff happened and that kind of went away. But so I wanted to mention that, and as far as the verbiage of the letters go, that was a big concern. I would agree that we fell short on that, and I apologize for that. This is the first time I think we've been in that situation. If you go back and watch the video, there was a lot of discussion about it. What should be in letters, what shouldn't be in letters. A lot of those concerns came up. I'm not texting up here, I'm taking notes on things to improve upon and work on in the future. So I appreciate everybody's feedback. I'm taking notes on this stuff as well. Just in general, and I'm sure we don't do everything perfect. And we're trying our best, and I can only speak for myself. I'm taking feedback, I'm trying to work on things and fix the concerns that are brought up. So I appreciate everything that's brought up, but there was a second set of eyes on there for many, many years. So thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Article 2?
My name is Becky Watson, and nobody has directly addressed our town treasurer. May I ask you a question? Is that possible? At any time in working with Jackie, did you ever have any suspicions about her keeping any money or doing anything irregular? No. Thank you.
I'm Evelyn Goodrich. I'm a reminder. I don't know who you are, and every time you speak, you do not announce your name. So please announce your name. Also, Jackie was here for several years. Jackie was here for several years, and I believe that she did her best for the town of Williamstown. And she did work with many people. Yes, we can criticize her because she's got a record. She's like every one of us. We're not perfect. So please vote accordingly to your wishes. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion on Article 2? Seeing none, we're going to move on to Article 3. Shall the voters authorize the Williamstown Road Rehab Project in an amount not to exceed $1 million to be financed over a period not to exceed 10 years through the Vermont Bond Bank? So I will open it to discussion.
Yes, Winston Chambers.
Please step closer to the microphone.
Winston Chambers. I got a question on your choices of the roads that you chose. I can see some of them like Flint Road, Martin Road, Baptist Street, but Chelsea Road, South Hill, I don't understand. We've had floods and everything, and you've redone those roads quite a few times in recent years. And George Road, I understood, had been thrown up.
Okay, on South Hill Road, we did the same process that we were proposing 5 or 6 years ago, I guess it was. And that only went from the intersection of Chelsea Road to the intersection of Graham Road. This proposal on South Hill will go from Graham Road to the town line by the Beagle Club. And on the Chelsea Road, nothing has been done where the blacktop ends by Stella Road down to the town line. I believe it's town line of Washington, down in, I have the miles here, but whatever it is. Exactly a mile. The gravel portion of Chelsea Hill. On George Road, the end towards Hebert Road was thrown up, but there's still the section from the Coolidge Farm down to the intersection of Flint Road. It was not thrown up. And there's quite a few houses built out there now, and that road has nearly nothing for gravel on it.
Hi, I'm Kathy Gingras, and I live up off of Gilbert Road, and I didn't see Gilbert Road in the plan anywhere. And I was wondering, the pavement is starting to break up quite a bit, the first part, and I didn't know if there was a plan to repave it, because right now you kind of get seasick going over bumps, and I know it's going to get worse, mud season's coming, but I didn't know if there was a plan to just fix the first part of Gilbert Road.
I'll have to be honest with everybody in this room, there will be no plans of doing much of anything on any other roads except for these that we have proposed. It's going to be between mud season and getting winter sand put up and normal grading stuff. This project is going to take a big part of the town highway crews work for the summer. This project has come about by many residents coming into select board meetings complaining about the grading of the town roads. To be honest and fair with the town employees, they need something to work with. All these roads are the ones that were picked out that are in the worst condition. In some areas we're grading right on top of ledge routes. And this base gravel, if you try to grade a road, you have surface gravel on it. And all these roads that are picked out are down into almost the base gravel, or just a few inches of gravel. And so when you try to grade out the potholes, you're into the coarse base gravel or ledge or whatever it happens to be. And you just can't grade that type of stuff. It's just impossible. So, and we put $150,000 in here now. It was less than that previous years. Last few years it's been 150. That amount is still in there to work on these other roads. But the bulk of it's going to take most of the road crews time this summer to complete this project for the other stuff that has to be done to prepare for winter. We could ignore this and vote it down, but the problem's never going to go away. It's just only going to get worse. As the gravel wears off, the mud's going to get worse every spring. Right now, I remember the last previous years we've had to stop school buses from running these roads for periods of time to pick up kids just because the roads are impassable. They're so muddy. And Town Roman and I went through some numbers. We figure we're spending approximately $30,000 every spring filling in mud holes and hauling material in mud holes, which is harming the roads even farther. Hauling those heavy trucks with steel, try to make a road passable way up on the outer skirts of towns like Tower Road or something like that. So this project is going to take $1 million. It's going to take over $800,000 of material, and the rest is the culverts and rental of some equipment and hiring some dump trucks to help the town do it. The interest on the project is $14,000 a year roughly. It's higher in the beginning and it goes down to a lot less at the end, but the average is $14,000. We figure we'll save more than the interest on this money just in what we'll save on mud holes in the spring that are trying to fix these areas to make the roads passable and to be able to grade these roads in the future. There's no other way. I've had several meetings on this, several select board meetings, and I've asked anybody with any better ideas to come forward, yet no one has. And this is the only way we're ever going to catch up. It's the only way. We could really raise our taxes and put $250 million into it each year for the next 4 years, but you're really going to see a spike in the taxes. Right now, we've got a loan set up with a bond bank for 2.9%. So that's a pretty reasonable rate. And by doing this, we can pay the interest on that loan just in savings on the wasted mud holes every year. So that's about all I can say on it. And roads we picked out are the ones that are most in need of it at this time. There's certainly other roads that need work, just as the lady just said. But that will come. But if we can get this done, it'll give us time to concentrate on those other roads with the money we appropriate every year.
Roger Nato. I've been living in Williamstown for about 24 years. And I don't think there's many people here that would argue the need to take care of unpaved roads and repair them to a better standard than what's happening now. But in the years that I've been in Williamstown and all the other towns I've traveled in my time here, I find that Williamstown roads are probably the worst maintained roads that I have seen multiple times. I can't tell you how many times either I or my wife has called the town to report potholes that are sinkholes, and it takes forever for them to be repaired or dealt with. And when they are, the potholes are half filled. So it makes me wonder, okay, what is the quality of the work that's being done? Is it being done according to standard? And is somebody following up to make sure that those potholes and those unsafe areas are being addressed properly? And if not, then send those crews back out to get it done right. And if you're sending crews out 2 or 3 times to do the same project, that's where a lot of the money is being spent foolishly. So there needs to be some better maintenance. The roads are in very poor condition. You can go up Peary Road or even Graniteville Road, and you see potholes all over the place, including not just in the center of the aisle, the lanes, but on the breakdown or on the sides as well. I can't tell you how many times cars have swerved to miss a pothole and it almost creates an accident. And at the bottom of Peary Road, where it connects to Graniteville Road, that is a terrible intersection area. I mean, if we're going to be spending more money, let's spend it wisely. Let's really think about, are we spending the money, the budget for the highway town now properly? And if not, let's address that before we allocate more money to roads. And if we're going to spend all that money and time taking care of unpaved roads, what is the condition of the paved roads going to be? Are we going to neglect those roads so we can do the unpaved roads? So let's get our priorities back in line.
Respond to that? Okay.
Danielle Lawson, to my point about the importance of reporting out on reserve funds. Over the past 4 years, I guess it's 3 years, and then anticipated for 2027, we put $170,000 annually into a paving and resurfacing reserve fund. I'd love to know how much is currently in that fund, given that I've only seen one paving project completed in this town over the past 2 years. And to the point of the gentleman who spoke before me, that particular paving project was the Falls Bridge Road paving project, which sat waiting for the state map to settle for over a month. And during that time, we did not take advantage of the opportunity to use the town's new mini excavator to do culvert work. So it's likely that that paving is going to begin to undermine due to the fact that the culverts are completely filled in already over the next couple of years. So I do have concerns about the quality of work that is being performed in this town, in addition to the fact that we are asking for $1 million bond to repair roads, and we've given, so in 2025, it was $100,000 to the road rehab repairs and $170,000 to paving and resurfacing. That amount has stayed consistent, except that now this year we're asking for $150,000 for road rehab reserve and the money for this bond. So I really need to know how much is in our highway reserve fund.
I don't have those answers for you, Amy.
And that's been the same for 3 years now. I've asked you, Larry, for 3 years you've said, I don't have the answers. And Barbara, you put out this report, you sat there for 3 years hearing me ask for that number, and I still don't have it.
Excuse me, if you wish to speak, you need to step up to the microphone and address the town moderator.
We can look through the budget. We can look through the budget. I don't know if it counts in
There's
here.
nothing that says for
Okay. Now, we would have to get that information from the auditors. And with regards to the last person just up, like I said, some of these roads have potholes that are 5 inches deep, 6 inches deep. You only got 2 inches of surface gravel on them. You're down into the subbase, digging up rocks and ledge and roots. They just can't, they do the best they can to grade it out smooth, but the potholes reoccur because you can't cut it right down to the deep depth they need to be. So we gotta give the guy something to work with. That's bottom line.
My name is John Perkins, and I live on Felicity First Avenue, and you guys came up and you put white granite stone on our road, and I want to thank you for it. The only problem with it, sometimes it gets on my lawn, and I take it all back and put it back in your road again. But it does a very good job, you're doing right on the right thing, and I've already voted for the $1 million project. Thank you.
One thing we're doing that's going to help a lot is we've increased our chloride budget, liquid chloride budget. The best thing we can do with these roads once we get this work done, if this passes, is to make sure that we keep grading every time we grade. If we put this chloride down and roll it, that'll stop loss of fines. I've been to several seminars that leagues of cities and towns. The highly traveled road could lose up to 2 inches of surface gravel per year, the fines in the gravel. So it's you'll see the chloride budgets increase. The reason for that is to protect the roads, hold the stuff together, and we won't lose so much gravel every year if we keep with that practice. We did buy a roller that we started using last year. We got one of the single axle trucks set up strictly with a chloride tank in it. It's got the sprayers on the back, and we got a roller that goes on the front so that we can spray and roll the roads after they get done grading right behind the grader. That's going to help out a lot. It's worked out well, what they've used so far. The plan to go forward is every so often grade these roads and put the chloride to it and roll it in so we can save as much as we can.
Yes, Ron Schneider, live up on Gilbert Road here in town. I voted against the $1 million bond, Mr. Moderator, and real quick to explain why. I'm not opposed to getting the roads fixed. I'm actually very much in favor of that, spending the necessary money. However, over decades and decades here in Williamstown, right here in this very gymnasium, we've made a conscious decision to spend what we've been spending on roads. And we've always had the option of spending more on roads if we so chose. But we didn't as a town choose to. And the answer now being put forward is to take out a 10-year bond, which makes sense for today, but it puts constraints on future spending 10 years, 8 years, 6 years down the road, which I don't think we should be doing. If folks' expectations are that the roads in Williamstown be maintained at a higher standard than they are being maintained, and we need to just raise the taxes and spend the money to do that. We don't need to burden people 10 years down the road to fix roads today that are gonna need to be fixed again in another 6, 7, 8 years. So I voted against it. I hope people will vote the issue down. And I just hope that select boards in the future start coming back and saying, we need to spend more on our roads. Here's an increase on the road budget. Thank you.
I've got a couple of things. I've been told that, because you mentioned that, Larry mentioned a short time ago, 2 minutes ago, Larry mentioned a few minutes ago, that they keep buses off the road in the spring because of the roads. I was told a couple of years ago that the buses don't run on the roads in the spring because of the busing company not allowing them on the roads. And now you're telling me that you, as a select board or town highway people, are keeping buses off the road. Now, I got a big problem with this whole mud boot bus thing anyway, because I grew up in this town, and the buses were not as good as what they have for buses now. The roads are as bad as they are, and they're probably the worst roads, dirt roads in the area. They're better than they were in the 60s, by a lot. And all of a sudden, a few years ago, quite a few years ago now, we can't run buses on the road in spring. And you get a lot more traffic on the road, people spinning up and down the road to get their kids back and forth to school because you don't want to run a bus. Now, it makes more sense to run 1 or 2 vehicles, even if you have to use smaller buses or 4-wheel drive sport utes for what kids are to transport these kids than it is just to go 6 weeks with no buses. Yeah, it's crazy. And you're paying for the buses anyway, and whether they charge per trip or per week or month, I don't know how that's broke down. I've never seen that, how that's broke down. But I do believe we should be running those buses just like we used to every day at school. And, I mean, we did it in the past, and like I said, the roads and buses are all a lot better now than they were in the 60s. So I would like to know how come we can't do that. And if it's a busing company, well, maybe we gotta find some other way of transporting the children, other than private car. It's just crazy. So maybe you have an answer to that, maybe you don't.
I'll try. I'll do the best I can, unless somebody else wants to. You've answered, but a lot of what you just said answered a lot of what I was just saying. The roads haven't gotten any better, the ones that we have listed out over the last years. Instead of having good old winters like we're having this year, we had mud season yet that I know of. Last few years, we've had like 3 of them during the winter. We can let the buses go. They can go out there and get buried in mud, and have somebody come pull them out, wreck the roads even more. Or we could ask them to stay off the road for a few days and things tighten up, or we can get some stuff in there. I mean, it's only common sense. I mean, these roads are not passable for a school bus sometimes a year. And with the climate change, things getting warmer, except for this year. The last few years, we've had like 2 or 3 mud seasons instead of 1 like we used to have. Back when we were talking. So that makes a big difference.
Back in the 60s, the buses went through, and your equipment and your roads are better than they were in the 60s, and they are bad right now. They're other roads are down. Northfield does a lot better job with their roads. Chelsea's road, you go out by the Eagle Club, and you go across the town line, you notice the difference. So Williamstown roads are worse than some of the surrounding towns, but still that brings you back to the point that they used to be able to run the buses on to get through, and all of a sudden now you can't. And that confuses me immensely, because we got so much better stuff out there than we had in the 60s, and we can't run buses. So now maybe we need to smaller buses. Maybe we don't need a 54-passenger bus on South Hill. That would make sense because there's not that many kids on South Hill going to school. So maybe we're burning out with bigger buses, more burden the road with bigger buses is what we need. I don't know, maybe it's gotta be looked at. I know it's too late to do anything for this year, but we should look at that in the future, how we can handle that a little more common sense like.
I can respond to that. Like you were talking about going past the Eagle Club over to Chelsea, Washington, it's probably, I don't think I'm too far off, I say it might be 5 houses per mile. Once you get out of that area, 5 houses per mile, these roads we're talking about doing probably got 20 houses per mile. I mean, there's a lot more traffic. I remember working with my grandfather on the farm on Hebert Road. There might be 5 cars a day go through there. The road is half the width. You're talking back in the 70s, early 70s. Late 60s, it's like you're just saying, I know exactly what you're talking about. When there was no traffic, I bet you Hebert Road probably has, I can find the statistics on it, it's probably 500-600 cars a day. I know Falls Bridge Road is 1,800 cars a day. I know that for a fact. So things have changed, Steve. I don't.
Yeah, things are changing, it's So, changing for the better, not for the worse.
If we don't do nothing to these roads, it's just going to get worse. There's nothing going to fix itself. This is the only remedy we can come up with to fix this, and it should last more than 10 years.
Okay, I just want to point out, we do want to make sure that everybody that wants to be heard is heard. But by this time last year, we had already adjourned the town meeting, and we haven't even gotten to the active articles. So I'm just letting people know that.
I'm sorry, I'm Kathy Jingers. I just wanted you to clarify. So no work at all will be done to the bottom of Gilbert Road. The broken up pavement and all those bumps. Absolutely nothing will be done.
I can
Yes, on the Granville side.
I can guarantee you, if this bond passes, nothing will be done this year. I ain't saying nothing will be done ever.
I understand that, but if it passes, I mean, that road's just getting worse and worse, where it was paved. And your answer to me indicated that nothing would be done. I just wanted to clarify.
I didn't say nothing will be done. We'll try to do the normal maintenance as best we can. I mean, say we had a cloudburst wash out a bunch of roads, not FEMA incident, but bad storm right over Williamstown. We're saying they call it microburst, I guess, whatever they call it. The material we're going to buy, we're getting a good price on it because we're buying 49,000 yards of material. That's a lot of material. The biggest part of that $1 million is the material. It's over 800,000. That material is not going to spoil. If something happens or we have a catastrophe, we can just stop and we can go get
But
that.
I'm not talking about a catastrophe, I'm talking about normal circumstances here.
I know you're specific to Gilbert Road.
Just the bottom.
I know you traveling. I know you traveling, but these other roads have been having attention. I mean, I don't know what to say. If we hired all this work out, we'd be gone in $1.5 to $2 million to have someone else do it. So we tried to do it the most cost-effective ways we can to get as much done as we can.
So I believe that what Mrs. Jingers is referring to, I don't think she's actually referring to this article. She is probably referring to the general maintenance that the $1.467 million highway budget is general maintenance at the bottom of her road, at the bottom of her neighbor's road. I think that is specifically what she's asking. We know that this bond is not going to cover her road, but the general maintenance, the $1.467 million, should have that repair and maintenance, I believe is what she's referring to. Can you tell us what roads are scheduled to be paved this year, repaved?
We haven't got to that point yet as far as scheduling roads. There may be some that were on the list, but we haven't been through with the new manager, and we will be doing that shortly.
There's a couple.
We don't know which roads we are going to maintain and re-maintain and repave this year on March 3rd for our summer.
Excuse me, I was trying to figure out if there was something we had that we knew. You know, I know there's some areas on the Chelsea Road that they ran out of time for. There's a couple bad spots there. As far as major repaving projects, the Granville section of town was completed last fall. That's all new. I don't know just how much is left in the reserve. We need to sit down and go through that. We're still ways from paving seasons.
So I see that on this bond.
If the former manager was here, she had all that information. But
She did what I asked last.
I can see on this bond that Baptist Street is on this bond for re-dirting it or putting crushed granite on it. But in 2018, Baptist Street, the pavement was torn up and the members of the town were told that that was going to be repaved in 2019. Then it didn't get paved. And then they were told that it was going to be paved a couple of years ago, but Falls Bridge was paved, and then that pavement failed, and instead of doing Baptist Street, Williamstown had to repave again within 12 months of the first repave, Falls Bridge Road again. So Baptist Street is on this bond, but Baptist Street is supposed to be on the list, and has been on the list for 8 years to be repaved. Now, the people on Baptist Street, when they purchased their houses, the property value reflected a paved road. It still reflects a paved road, but they're not on a paved road. So when is Baptist Street going to be repaved as it's been on the list for 8 years?
like I said, we need to go through this and see what we have for funds.
But this road has been on the list to be repaved. I don't understand how we have projections out for fiscal year 2026. What, we don't know what we're doing for this year?
We know exactly what we're doing except for the paving. We're gonna fix these roads if the people improve it. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. We allocate so much money every year to go to paving fund. We pick the words of the roads that we most need of it, and we work on those. I don't know, without going back, going through the numbers and see what we have left in reserve, and what we're gonna, there's a certain amount in this budget to go into the reserve, and we have to sit down, pick out the roads. That street may come up, it may not, I don't know. We got important issues on different areas.
Do you feel that if Baptist Street were paved during the flooding, that there would be less damage and less repair to that road than there was?
The section of Baptist Street that's paved, I don't think had any damage from the flooding.
That was paved in 2018 before it was ripped up, and was supposed to be repaved in 2019.
This is way before, I was not on the select board, so I don't know directly what was said at the time it was ripped up by the select board. But that road is relatively flat. There's a little bit of a hill section before you get to Terry.
Up to the Four Corners, up to the substation, that was paved until 2018. From, it used to be called Lower Baptist Street, from Granville all the way up to the substation was paved. Yes, it was.
Yeah, just before Terry Hill, yeah, stops it. It was. And I don't know, at the time, it must have been so rough that the pavement wasn't in any condition, we just took it out so we could grade it. I wasn't on the board then. And this board is, the boards going forward need to look at what the most needs are for the town and address the ones that need it the worst. If Baptist Street is in that list, then we'll do it. If it's not, we need to take care of the worst ones first.
Okay, residents of that community have been told when they called that it was, now it's on next year's list, and then they were told now it's on next year's list. It keeps being pushed back for them. So I am asking, we keep telling them this, and then we are not following up. It's important that we are accountable
They haven't been told that the last couple of years.
They have to.
You mentioned that we might need to bring in, higher dump trucks to deliver the gravel for this project. I'm curious, do certain members of the select board recuse themselves from the bidding process during, when there's a town project that might be, beneficial to their personal business? Or are town select board members allowed to bid on those projects and then their project bid can be selected by the select board? I'm curious about that conflict of interest.
I gotta believe you're referring to my company.
I sure am, Larry, but I asked Shannon gave me some support on how not to call you out personally.
I can tell you that any project of any size, unless it's a water leak that comes up all at once, it needs to be immediately repaired, I'll go out to bid. We bid on them just like everybody else does. If we're a low bidder, we bid them. If we don't, I do not participate on any vote that selects the bidder if my company's involved in.
Are you made aware of what competing bids are before you submit your bid?
Say that again.
When you submit, are you privileged to receive competing bids as your position of select board chair? Are you made aware of what those might be? Because it's just weird that you are the low bidder on like every project when we have other local companies bidding on those projects and not getting them so much of the time. So I just want to make sure the process is fair and transparent for our taxpayers.
We've been low bidder on a lot of projects. We also have not been low bidder. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I have no idea what they're gonna bid. They have no idea what I'm gonna bid. You know, I didn't go out there, you bid on it. That's it. So there's no reason that I should have to deny my people that work for me, pay taxes in this town, just because I'm sitting on the select board, the ability to work in their own town. I mean, do it fair. I've never voted on anything involved anything to do with my company. And I don't have any idea what anybody else has bid. The bid package is sent out and all the items on it that need to be bid on, and we bid on it just like everyone else does. That's all I can say.
Madam Moderator, I'm Carl Perkins, and I ask that we cease discussion on this and go to lunch.
Are you making a motion that we cease discussion on these articles?
Correct. Second.
We have a second?
Who seconded it?
If you could stand up so we can be identified.
Thank you.
All right, is there any discussion on this motion?
Yes. This man was at the podium prior to the motion being made. I request that we allow him to speak.
My name is Orville Massell, and just for the record, Mr. Moderator, the motion to cease debate is a point of order, and there will be no discussion on it, and it requires a 2/3 majority. So, at some point in the past here, Larry said that this was the only way we would get caught up. And taking that at face value, my question is, going forward, are we going to be able to maintain these roads with our regular highway budget? Or when we pay this bond off in 10 years, are we going to be right back here doing it again? Only that'll be 2 or 3,000 million, excuse me, by then. Is this a fix or is it a patch?
What we're planning to do is probably more material than those roads have ever had on them since it was built. Be honest with you, there are outlying roads in some cases.
Larry, put it up close.
I said, what we're proposing is probably more material going to be put on those roads since it was built. Very little maintenance has ever been done on these roads other than grading them, filling in mud holes. We've done the same exact approach. We had an engineering company come in. We dug test holes in the roads themselves on South Hill Road and Hebert Road and Stone Road. We did some too. And they tested the material to see what it's like to try to determine what was the best material to add to the roads that would stand up. And they also did samplings from Northeast Materials, Pike Industries, used to be Bruce Hose, now it's McCullough's, Fitz, along with Alan, Bill Corey over in Chelsea, test their hardness and wear on the materials to see what would stand up the best and longest. The granite materials far outpace the crushed ledge materials. Crushed ledge materials, a lot of traffic and weight on it, especially heavy traffic, will break down after time with the rocks. It'll get you half stone in it, and over time that will break down, it turns to fines. And fines turns to mud. It's just crushed ledge is basically petrified clay, so it works very well in driveways, in roadways, bases where you can have a heavy layer of pavement on it. But on the gravel roads, we got direct contact with the material. There's nothing that will beat the granite. It's unfortunate there's only one location where you get it close by, but they're giving us a good price, a lot less than what you go in there and buy it for a small quantity of time. It's large amount of material. It's the best material we can use. We did South Hill Road and Hebert Road 5-6 years ago. Those roads have held up very, very well. There's no mud season issues on any of them, any areas that we did. Zero. So the only thing we're going to do is ruin those roads hauling mud material to get these outlying roads beyond them. So I mean, if we could get these done with the amount of traffic on them, they should last for a long time. They should outlast a long bond for sure.
You couldn't put anything over the granite?
The granite is 9 inches thick total. It's inch and a quarter plant mix. It's going to be a total of 9 inches thick.
Right, but over that, are you gonna put anything?
That's the finish total. We're going to regrade existing roads that are there, and whatever material is, even it out, crown it, and we're going to apply this 9 inches of material on top of it. That 9 inches of material will hold a lot. And that was the engineer's recommendation, and it proved out well on those two highly traveled roads, Chelsea Road and Hebert Road. So,
Is it permissible for me to speak?
No, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Yes, I am acknowledging that.
Forget it, it's not that important, forget it.
I was refreshing my memory. This is only my second time doing it, so I'm certainly not perfect. But there is a limit or extend debate on a pending question. We have a second. There is no discussion. It requires a 2/3 vote. So that a 2/3 vote is a division of the House. So we would need all those in favor of ending the discussion to raise your hand.
You gotta keep them up.
You have to keep them up, they have to be counted.
I'm doing this.
You need to clarify though, because the motion was to end the discussion on first reading amendments and break for lunch. That was the motion.
I did not hear the break for lunch portion, I apologize. Was that part of the motion?
That's the most important part.
I'm going to have some ugly people if we don't break for lunch.
Okay, so Carla made the motion to break for lunch, seconded by Stephanie Winters. Is that correct? Okay.
To cease discussion?
Cease discussion, right? Okay.
Yes. Okay, as I said, 2/3 vote. So we need you, all those in favor, raise your hand and keep them up until they are counted. We need a 2/3 majority.
I've got 250, I can't see everybody.
Are you calling it a 2/3?
I
Okay, you can lower your hands. All those opposed? It looks like the ayes have it. There appears to be a 2/3 majority, and we will recess for half hour for lunch. Well, let's reconvene at 1:30, so that gives us 40 minutes. Yes.
You know, it's too bad, we'll only have 30 people voting for $2 million. I know. That's the saddest part. It is.
So many people who have to
Oh, yeah.
Scott.
I didn't take it seriously earlier, whether or not you still have your contract.
Yeah.
Pretty simple.
Love was like that.
What?